Salutations! Welcome to Pod Mortem. I'm Travis Hunter, joined as always by my co-host, my sister, and my brother-in-law.
Hi, I'm Reneé Hunter Vasquez.
Hi, I'm John Paul Vasquez.
This week, we're broadcasting live from Gate 46 at JFK Airport, discussing the 2000 supernatural horror film, Final Destination. The film was directed by James Wong, co-written by Wong, Glenn Morgan, and Jeffrey Reddick. The film initially began as an unused teleplay for the iconic television series The X-Files, but was later rewritten and expanded upon into the film we know today. While the film received mixed reviews from critics upon its release, it went on to become a box office hit and would eventually spawn its own franchise. With an interesting premise and elaborate death sequences, it's no wonder this film has become either a guilty pleasure or a full-fledged favorite among horror fans. This film was suggested to us by friend of the show, Michelle, who can be found on Twitter at MJMoore77. Thanks for your support and the suggestion, Michelle. So, Final Destination. What were your first impressions on the film?
I don't remember this movie very much at all.
Really?
Yeah, I thought I was going to go in liking it because I remember liking it when I watched it like the first once or twice that I seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't remember maybe like one or two parts, and that's about it.
But you liked it when you were a kid?
I remember, when I was younger, I was like, oh man, that's crazy. But I didn't have the same feeling this time around. No, not at all.
I loved this movie when I was a kid.
No,
like,
I
a lot.
did too, yeah.
And I can't remember the last time I watched it before we watched it for the show. But it was still like nostalgic in a way, even though I had forgotten chunks of it. There's one scene that I vividly remembered for some reason, but it's not, I'm not gonna say I liked it as much as I did when I was a kid, but I still think it deserves its props for an interesting premise, a relatable antasurretonist that we're all afraid of.
We've all heard of him.
Yeah. It's a decent movie. It's a good movie. It's not cerebral. It's a movie. It's fine.
Yeah, there's not a lot to really dissect.
No, not at all.
I think, like we talked about before we were recording, they made excellent use of foreshadowing in this movie.
Yes.
I think that they should be commended as far as the story is concerned. It could very easily have turned very cheesy as far as what if because death is the antagonist in this film,
right.
But what if it's literally a fucking man in a cloak?
Yeah, I really appreciated
laughing from like the corner or something, you know?
I really appreciated that all we got was like some wind, like to convey.
Death blows into town.
Yes.
You know, I feel like they were smart not to, because it could have just been a standard slasher film where it's just a guy.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought that was cool that they didn't do that. And honestly, knowing that this was originally supposed to be meant for the X-Files, it makes sense. You see it, but then you also can see a lot of influence from like the Twilight Zone. It very easily could have been a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, though, about Final Destination as a franchise is it kind of follows, at least to me, the unfortunate pattern of where the first one is very focused and really good in a lot of ways, and then as it goes on through the series, it kind of loses what it was.
Subsequently, it's just like, let's find cool ways to kill people.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like Saw kind of fell into that trap as well.
Literally, let's find cool ways to kill people.
Yeah, a lot of franchises do, and unfortunately this is one of them.
Right. I don't even think I've seen all of them, honestly.
Yeah, I think I've seen this one and the second one.
I think so too. I don't know if I went further than that.
I think that's fine.
Because the second one's the log truck, and that's iconic, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all I remember.
Yeah.
Now, before we cheat this film's design, we would like to issue a warning for spoilers. Podmortem is a very in-depth podcast, and in thoroughly discussing horror films, we have no choice but to spoil a thing or two. If you don't wish to be spoiled, please go watch the film, then come back and enjoy the show. If you've already seen the film or don't care about spoilers, let's get ready for takeoff. So the film opens with a shot of a thunderstorm outside of a window, accompanied by tense orchestral music. We see the title card Final Destination, as well as, I guess, some kind of monkey skeleton charm situation. We see the shadow of the charm, and it looks like it's being hung by the neck.
Yes.
Right? I thought it was neat, but I think they could have done more little things like that to show like other,
more.
Yeah. Because they're like, you could die like this anyway.
Well, they do too. They do the hanging and they do a guillotine.
That's true, but it's like in a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We then see a plane ticket for a flight to Paris being thrown on a bed and someone packing a tour guide of France. Behind the book on the shelf, we see the play Death of a Salesman, so the whole death thing does continue. A fan oscillates around the room and it blows the guide open to a page that appears to show, like you said, people being guillotined during the French Revolution, which seems a little odd to me that the tourist book would be like, oh, we killed people.
Yeah. Did y'all know this part?
We did that shit. But the opening continues, and the fan's not finished opening books, and we see a collection of Renaissance art depicting religious people warding off demons and death, as well as the words, "This is the end," written in red at the bottom of a sculpture. So they're really hitting home.
No, it's a lot.
That was long.
It
was very long.
It
really
was very long. I actually have that in my notes, but it was kind of cool and ominous and very fan-centric. Like, the fan was
Dude,
all
the
up
fan
in that
gets
opening.
a lot of play. Like, no joke. Fanal destination.
Yeah.
But the film opens proper as Alex Browning, played by Devon Sawa, is packing for a school trip to Paris, and his parents are helping him get ready for it. He's borrowing his dad's luggage for the trip, and just as his mom goes to tear off the baggage tag, Alex stops her and he's like, well, the tag made the last trip, he straight up says the plane didn't crash.
Yeah.
So I think, leave it on. He said it should be with the bag, or at least, his dad nods in approval, but she's like, where the fuck did you get a dumbass idea like that, basically, and rips it off.
Yeah, a couple things.
Okay.
His mom's an asshole.
Well, yeah, yes.
I'm very superstitious, maybe to the point of annoyance, and John Paul is not. But still, the stupid shit that I'm like, oh no, don't go this way around the pole. He does it just so I feel better.
Right.
What would it have hurt you to just leave the goddamn thing on the bag?
Literally nothing. And the thing is that it's a common superstition
Yeah.
with flying. It's not like it's a random thing that nobody's ever heard of.
And the dad's a fucking punk because he's nodding when Alex is like, it needs to be with the bag. And he's like, yeah. And then she's like, you're a fucking idiot, and rips it off. And he's like, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's called being married. That's what that is.
Well, she's an asshole.
My thing is, if the worst were to happen and you were the mom, wouldn't you feel like shit?
I did that.
I should have never torn that
Yeah.
tag.
If it makes him feel better, he's flying by himself. What does it hurt you to just fucking leave it?
Let him live with it, man.
That bugged me.
But his dad oddly sums up the whole situation to Alex, and he's like, look, you're 17 years old. You're on a trip to Paris for 10 days with your friends. It's like...
High expositional dialogue.
But he's like, live it up. You've got your whole life ahead of you. And oddly, Alex looks really worried when his dad says that.
Well, because it's like tempting fate.
He always looks worried.
He does.
That's true. But in the next scene, we see Alex sleeping in bed. The camera closes in on a model airplane as that strange wind blows in, causing the propellers to rotate.
So did her ripping the tag off the bag cause this wind?
I feel like we wouldn't be wrong to blame his mother for everything
For
that
the
happens
whole
in this
movie?
movie.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
But the camera circles around the room and back to Alex as various objects are swaying in the breeze. And we hear an echoey voice say Alex, which causes him to wake up for a moment. He looks across the room at his fan, which again is getting a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
And then he rolls back over. We see that it's 1 a.m, thanks to his alarm clock by the bed, but the first 0 in the clock flickers a bit until the clock reads 1:80. And I read on IMDb it took 5 days to get that shot correct.
It looks cool.
It does look
I
cool.
thought it was a really
It
cool
does.
transition.
And it is like the transition from his clock to the airport is really cool.
Yeah.
And we see the number 180 on a flight information board at JFK Airport the next day. But the camera pans over from that board to pretty much our entire cast of characters.
Yeah.
We literally meet all of them in the span of 5 seconds and get a pretty good read on who they are. First is the jock, Carter Horton, and his girlfriend, Terry Chaney, played by Kerr Smith and Amanda Detmer, respectively. Carter sees Billy Hitchcock, played by Sean William Scott, standing by the bus, and so he puts a heavy bag on his shoulder, and it causes him to fall down, and he's like, Carter, you dick! Which is pretty much his catchphrase
I
the
was going
entire...
to say, which is the first of many times
Yes.
you're going to hear that.
Next, though, we see a teacher and chaperone for the trip, Valerie Luton, played by Kristen Cloak, helping a student with their luggage just as the wallflower. Clear Rivers, played by Ali Larder, walks by mostly unnoticed. Alex's best friend Todd, played by Chad Donella, attempts to hit on Krista and Blake, the obvious early 2000s it
Hot girls, yeah.
And he completely strikes out and he gets made fun of by his brother George.
I feel like that little piece does a really good job of really highlighting which archetypes all of these kids are.
Yeah.
Without, oh, Carter, you've been bullying me since second grade. Like, there's no exposition. I thought that it was pretty effective.
No, I
thought
agree.
it was good.
He's like, Carter, you dick. Carter is a dick.
Carter is a dick.
And that's his whole character. So, I mean, it really does. And it shows how they relate to each other, especially like you see Clear walk by, no friends, nothing. You're like, okay, well, then she's, you see Mrs. Luton being helpful. You're like, oh, she's a nice, it's very good.
Yeah.
Very smart. But if that wasn't enough names all at once, I've got a few more. Because it's very interesting to note that a lot of these names of these characters are homages to classic horror filmmakers and producers. You've got Alex Browning, and Todd is a reference to Todd Browning, the director of Dracula and Freaks from the 30s, among other things. You've got Terry Chaney, which is obviously a reference to Lon Chaney. Billy Hitchcock, obviously a reference to Alfred Hitchcock. Then Todd's brother George Wagner is a reference to George Wagner.
They thought outside the box on that one.
He directed The Wolfman in the 40s. So it's like,
That's really cool, though.
It's interesting.
That's really cool.
It is a little odd to me because the film doesn't come off like a throwback to that era or anything like that.
Not at all, but I feel like it illustrates how much the people that made it appreciate the genre and the people that pretty much made the genre.
That's fair.
So that's really cool. I thought that was really cool.
I didn't even remember that the guy from The Rundown was in this movie.
It's Country Mac, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that I completely forgot he was in this movie. I didn't. And the whole time, too, I told her, I was like, what is Hawkeye doing in this movie?
Oh,
she was like,
Devin Sawa does kind of look like Jeremy Renner.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
I was like, hey, it's Hawkeye. She was like, that's not
him.
She was like, no, he is Hawkeye now. That's what.
And I don't know if we're skewing demographics here, but Devin Sawa did play Stan in the Stan video. So
he did?
Yeah.
All you kids who use the term Stan
You better
on Twitter,
thank
you better
him.
thank Devin
'Cause
Sawa.
that's what it is.
But just as they're heading inside the airport, Todd and George's dad says goodbye to them, and he slips George some cash for the trip, and he says it's for both of them to use, but then he tells Alex to take care of them, and Alex looks like he's accepting like a real assignment. He's like, oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird that he's the only parent that took his kid to the fucking airport to get on a plane and go to another country for 10 days. No other parent saw it fitting to see their kid off.
That's the friend's dad, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, one of Alex's parents is like, oh, Todd and George's dad is gonna. It's like, why wouldn't? It was just weird to me that nobody else gave a shit to go.
Like, we don't care. They're like, dude, we're having a party.
They're gone for
Exactly.
10 days.
Did you hear the 10 days thing? So I don't know, but that is kind of weird. Their French teacher, Larry Murnau, calls them inside in French, which none of them understand it, which is not a good sign for this trip. But they're riding the escalator up, and the brothers are bickering. It's a total sibling situation. But it made me realize something. They said this is the senior trip, so does that mean that Todd and George are twins?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Or
maybe
did
one of
George
them
get
got
held
held
back because he looks way older?
Yeah, he looks like David Duchovny.
Now they're back to the X-Files. But at the top of the escalator, Mr. Murnau stops the entire massive group to listen to an announcement that's in French for some reason. And Carter's like, the fuck's he saying? But Clear...
Where have you guys been all year?
Don't know. They all they heard was that they were going to Paris at some point, so they signed up for the class. But Clear's the only one that actually notices what is even being said. And so she doesn't even pick her head up from the book that she's reading, though, which is The Tropic of Cancer. I don't know if that's interesting.
Yeah, well, when I saw that, all I thought about was that Seinfeld episode.
Of course, yeah. Hygiene.
Yes.
Yeah. Can't stand you. But she says that it says the airport does not endorse solicitors. And he thanks her in French, but it's like, was this an impromptu lesson? Like, he just heard that it was French in the announcement. He's like, hey, everybody.
Probably.
What is that?
Well, he's one of those teachers. I mean, I think we all have to take foreign language in high school. And he's one of those teachers where it's like, Like, you have to say, can I go to the bathroom in fucking Spanish or whatever? Like, you can tell he's not. He's like, everybody shut up. What are they saying? You know?
Nobody was there for it, though.
No, well,
it's like, it's early, dude. But almost on cue, a Hare Krishna man hands Alex a pamphlet telling him death is not the end. And Miss Luton basically threatens him.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a bit much.
Well, yeah. She's like, well, it won't be the fucking end for you.
Yeah, but she tells him to fuck off.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't she just helpful a minute ago?
Yeah. She's people are all sides, you know. We got. But next, we see Alex getting his bags checked at a counter, but he's distracted by a very cool-looking flight information board that's flipping all over the place. It's got notifications of flights that are arriving on time, being canceled, and whatnot. This was actually CGI, that board.
Oh, wow. It didn't look like it.
Not at all. I was really impressed when I read that.
That's
because
cool.
Yeah.
And in 2000?
Yeah, because it looks legitimate, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. Wasn't even real. Wasn't even there. But when the flight attendant hands him his passport back along with his ticket, she tells him that they'll be departing at 9:25, which is the same as Alex's birthday, September 25th. So eerie music starts to play, and he looks back at the information board, and we zoom in on the word terminal.
I liked this, and maybe I'm just a little cheesy or whatever, but she says something about, oh, it's the same as your birthday, your departure time.
Right.
And so it's like there's so many like little phrases that we use every day that we don't think about, like terminal, like departure time, that could very quickly become sinister. I thought that was cool.
No, I think it's pretty neat. Another thing is that they're departing from JFK Airport, which I don't know if you guys are students of history, but John F. Kennedy,
Something
he
bad happened to
died
him.
quite violently. But also the name of their high school is Mount Abraham, which is probably a reference to Abraham Lincoln, who, again, as history will show,
I didn't catch that.
they were supposed to arrive at Charles de Gaulle Airport in France. And with all the JFK and Abraham Lincoln, I wanted to look it up and see what happened to that guy. But he just died at home with an aneurysm. So I guess they can't all
He
be
also
winners.
died.
Yeah. Although, according to Wikipedia, he pointed at his neck and he goes, I have a pain right here. And then he just dropped dead.
Holy shit.
Fucking horrifying. We probably shouldn't be laughing, but that's terrifying.
Oh my God.
In the next scene, we see Billy accidentally stumble into Carter, who pushes him away. Of course, Billy calls him a dick again, because of course he does. Todd asks for some cash from George because his dad did say it was for both of them, and they start kind of pushing each other around, which Miss Luton breaks up. But she walks right past Carter and Terry, who are just straight up making out.
No, and she's like straddling him. Like, it is very
Inappropriate.
I remember people getting in trouble for holding hands. Like, but
No
this
joke.
is fine.
I remember in 8th grade, my girlfriend at the time, I gave her a kiss, and then we literally got taken to the office immediately and sat there for like all of the next class, which was really bad for educational.
That's a bit much.
But I mean,
But no, this is
they're
fine.
just
Yeah.
not even airport security.
No, just dry hump in the seating area. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Clea sits down near them, oddly. I would have thought she would have just gone somewhere else. But as she sits down, she drops one of her books. Alex walks by and he picks it up for her. She thanks him, but it's revealed that the book, by chance, opened up to a picture of the accident that killed Princess Diana. Again, I think we need to have a talk with France's tourism board, because why would you advertise that? But Alex looks out the window to see the plane that they'll be flying on, and it's almost shot like they're staring each other down.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought that was kind of interesting, but just then, Todd pops up telling him that they should go poop together. He basically comes up with a nightmare scenario of taking a shit in the airplane bathroom, and then one of those cute 2000s girls from the beginning walks in after, and then forever associates them with the smell of their shit, I guess.
Yes.
Which honestly, it's the exact idiotic thing that my friends would come up with in high school.
And it's enough for him to be like, yeah, let's go
Yeah,
poop.
please.
he goes with them.
They do. But in the bathroom, Rocky Mountain High by John Denver plays over the speaker. The realization hits Alex that John Denver died in a plane crash.
I feel like it should just be a rule for airports to not play John Denver, Leonard Skinner, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, Aaliyah. Just cross those off. None of them. Don't play any of them.
You know what's funny is as I was watching it, I was thinking the same thing, and I was like, yeah, no, none of the Big Bopper, and then I couldn't remember anybody else's name. And I'm like, the Big Bopper was the least famous one.
That's the only one I didn't say.
Yeah. But it's funny because one of the writers said that this experience happened to them at the airport.
Oh, no.
And they had that realization in their head. They were like, he died in a plane crash. This is not good.
Not cool. Don't do that.
Not what you want to hear
no,
before you get on the plane.
don't do that.
The one nitpick I do have is that it would have been nice if Alex didn't realize that. if that was just a little Easter egg for the audience to hear John Denver and already associated with all the other stuff. Like, we didn't see the terminal sign, and he's like, that also means,
Yeah.
you know?
That means dead.
Yeah, so I thought they could have let that go a little quieter, but...
That's fair. That's fair.
But anyway, an announcement comes over the loudspeaker saying it's time to begin pre-boarding for Flight 180, the flight to Paris. So they stand in line, getting their tickets torn, and Alex looks incredibly uneasy. So Miss Luton is walking by, and she's asking if anybody's seen Billy Hitchcock, and they haven't, so she goes and looks for him. Todd snaps Alex back to reality, and they board the plane together with George. Along the way, Alex looks out a window to see a storm brewing outside, and he notices that the walkway looks old and all scratched up.
Yeah, it's like scary looking.
Yeah, I wouldn't feel safe on that thing. But even worse, he looks down and he sees a vehicle drive by underneath them between like this partition of the walkway and the plane, and the vehicle number is 666.
Of course it is.
Yeah, I mean...
I didn't even catch that.
You
I
didn't?
didn't know.
I was like, is a black cat going to walk by and be like, the plane's going to crash? You know, like I feel like...
They have to walk under a ladder to get into the plane.
Yeah, it's not setting it up enough for you.
Now open this umbrella and take your seat.
But once they get onto the plane, they see a baby crying really hard, and George is like, that's not a good sign. And he says that it would take a fucked up god to take this plane down, but then in their seating area, they see a mentally challenged man wearing an oxygen mask, and George is like, a really fucked up god to take down this plane. And so Alex, I guess, isn't the only person entertaining this idea of the plane crashing.
I feel like that's not out of the ordinary. Like, a lot of people are afraid to fly or have bad associations with flying. And while David Duchovny Jr. does make a point, I don't know that that would bring me any solace whatsoever.
I feel like he's grasping at straws here.
Yeah, God would do
Anything,
this.
yeah, no. Just sweating.
Look, it's fine.
It'll be fine.
Well. But they get to their seats, and Alex and Todd are seated separately. Todd has already struck up a conversation with Kristen Blake, the It Girls, and he's seated a little farther up. I guess one of the girls is supposed to sit next to Alex, and then the other girl is supposed to sit next to Todd, so they want Todd to switch seats so that they can sit together. And so Todd says no because he has a bladder infection. And I'm like, I thought you didn't want these girls associating him with the bathroom. But Alex is already seated, and he has his fan turned on trying to get his mind right, and so the girls walk up to him and ask him the same thing. He says yes, against Todd's silent protests, basically saying he'll fucking kill him if he says he'll trade.
Yes.
Yeah.
But why would you want to sit next to someone who doesn't want to sit next to you? The whole flight, you know?
She's going to be pissed off at you because she can't sit with her friend.
Exactly. You're not going to date her. It's not going to work
So
out.
I don't like... Teenage boys are so stupid that this reads as true, because it's like, I just want to be next to her, but it's like, no, dude, you'll get more brownie points if you
because Alex is going to be on their good side because he switched. They're like, fuck Todd.
And his bladder.
But Alex moves up to sit with Todd, who is annoyed at him for switching. And so Alex opens up his seat back tray, but a piece is loose and it just falls down and stays there. He hits the attendant call button for some reason. He's like, I need a new seat. Like, I don't know what that was for.
Come fix my tray.
But Billy also makes it aboard and sits behind Carter rather than sitting by him, which I guess is somehow better. He's still going to fuck with you the whole flight.
Yes.
But the flight attendant is going over the standard safety precaution speech before the plane takes off. They give the abridged version because it's really fast.
Yeah, I don't even remember them saying anything.
They said something about the seatbelts, and I think that was it. Like, buckle up, motherfuckers. And then just, you know,
Let's
but
go
that's
to
it.
Paris!
Yeah. But Todd looks super excited. Alex still is looking around really nervously. We see Clear is seated behind Alex with her headphones on. Alex looks out the window as the plane is leaving the ground, and Mr. Murnau fucking throws his hands up
He's
like he's doing the wave.
wave.
So excited. I thought Todd was excited. But the entire cabin cheers along with him. We get shots of the cabin cheering, but Carter looks fucking nauseous whenever we pan over him.
Yeah.
And they pass over his section.
Yeah.
But then the next shot is him going, whatever. And he's fine. I read Kerr Smith and Sean William Scott basically OD'd on Dramamine during this scene.
Jeez.
So I think that might be why he looked fucking
Sick.
soft.
Yeah.
But Alex looks even worse for wear.
Oh, yeah.
And he's clutching his armrest, and some turbulence begins, but a flight attendant is like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's
Super
like,
chill.
don't worry about it. Yeah. But it eventually stops, Everyone, including Alex, lets out a sigh of relief. The sigh of relief is the death knell in every horror film. That should be another rule. Nothing is ever okay.
No.
Don't pretend for 1 second that things are going to be fine. Because, of course, the turbulence begins again, even worse this time. The lights start flashing. People start screaming. Baggage falls from one of the overhead compartments. Billy drops his whoppers on the... It's a real mess.
Yeah, that dude was shoving his face with whoppers before they even... Like, he was ready.
And they show the whoppers a lot on the floor.
On the floor.
Yeah, I was wondering if they were going to be like... It was going to form a pentagram or something, the way that they're doing all the shit. But nothing literally happens
It's
at all.
just whoppers.
Yeah. But the oxygen masks fall from above, and everyone frantically puts them on. The electricity begins to short, and it sends sparks throughout the cabin. Suddenly, an entire section of the plane just breaks off, and people start getting sucked out row by row. One girl, admittedly overacting a little bit, reaches out, screaming.
Okay, let this happen to you and see how the fuck you act.
I'd probably do it a little better, but... She's reaching out to Miss Luton, and she's screaming, trying to help her, but it's too late. She gets sucked out into the sky. People fly into the aisle, and a bag flies and hits Todd in the back of the head.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did that, because it looked legitimate.
Yeah.
He took it like a champion.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? Did that guy just get hit with something?
He's like, ooh.
He took it like a champion.
He did, but an explosion sends fire through the entire cabin, also spraying guts against the wall for some reason.
Hey.
I don't know where or why that happened.
It's chaos.
It's an entire leg that gets thrown. I don't know if you noticed.
There's legs, there's fire. It's a whole situation.
It's a mess. But we get a very close-up shot of Alex being consumed by flames.
It's like eating his face
It's
out.
real bad. It looks good,
Yeah, it does look good.
but it's tough.
Yeah.
I read that the special effects guy that basically put this whole scene together, it took him 2 months to build the set of the plane. It was a 45,000-pound set on a gimbal that sat 89 people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and they fucking shook it around. They did all that. And of course the actors went through the ringer for it.
Yeah, and that's why they were on Dramamine. I'm sure they were nauseous as fuck.
I wouldn't be able to do
Yeah,
that.
no.
Like, what did I sign up for? That's no joke. That's actually what the special effects guy said when he found out he had to build that. He said, what did I sign up for? But funny story, I read on Consequence of Sound that when it came time to make the 5th movie in this series, they were looking for another gimbal because they had sold the one they used on this film.
Yeah.
And somehow they bought one randomly, and it turned out to be the exact same one they used on this film. So they were like, it's a sign.
It's fate.
Oh, wait, it's a sign. They like lost their shit.
We're all gonna die.
Exactly.
To his and everybody else's credit, though, that scene, watching it now, is still fucking scary to me, because it's like Michael Myers, it's all scary. Shit like that, it's like real in the moment, horrifying. Like something like that could happen.
Yes.
And the way that it played out was very realistic, and like just the helplessness of it. That scene fucking freaked me out watching it now as a fucking adult.
Full grown,
It's scary to me.
As a kid, it scared me. I feel like it scared me even more now. I don't know how that's even possible.
No,
but they did a great job.
It all happened so fast. Like it's just no, it's just turbulence. We're fine. Fuck.
Okay.
Like we're dead now. Half of us are dead.
I think the scene's only like 2 minutes long.
Yeah, it's very scary.
And it's pretty iconic.
Yeah.
But we then see Alex with his eyes closed, and it's before takeoff. Krista and Blake are once again asking him to switch seats, and we realize now that the previous sequence was a dream or a premonition of what's to come. So Alex wakes up, frightened as hell, and everything plays out as it did before. He rushes up next to Todd, and the same piece of that seatback tray is loose, just like it was in his vision. Everyone notices him, including Carter and a flight attendant who asks him what's going on.
Well, he's acting.
Yeah. But rather than being like, hey, I think we have a problem, he's like, the fucking plane's going to explode, which probably
wasn't the best thing to say.
No. Todd tries to calm him down, but the situation keeps escalating with Carter threatening to fight Alex and the flight attendant threatening their removal from the plane. He's in the right. Carter makes no sense.
I have to say, I have a problem with Carter's character as a whole in the movie. I feel like he is cartoonishly an asshole, just
Yeah.
to be the asshole character. Like, what reason do you have to try to beat this dude's ass because he's from the outside and maybe having a panic attack because
Right.
he's afraid of flying? So you beat his ass? Like, that makes no sense. And she's stupid for being with him too. But just throwing that
Terry.
out there. Yeah.
And well, if Alex is freaking out, why doesn't Carter just crack a joke and just turn to his girlfriend? You know, he doesn't
or
need
be
to be
like, hey, pussy. Like,
Yeah, 'cause
you have to get out of your seat.
He literally gets out of his seat and he points at Alex like you. Like I don't get
I
it.
didn't understand why he hit him or anything. I
No,
was like, I
it's
don't.
It's none of your
cartoonish.
business.
Like, nobody would do that.
And he'd been fucking around with Billy the entire movie, so it's not like we already have it established that him and
Like,
Alex
he
have
hates
it out
him
for
or
each other.
something. Yeah, that bothered me because it's so like if I'm about to take off on a plane and somebody jumps up and says the plane's gonna, I'm not like I'm gonna fuck this dude up. Like I would be scared.
Yeah.
I would be worried.
Yeah.
Like,
and
no, fuck you, dude. Like I thought that was dumb.
Carter, you dick.
Yeah.
But Billy arrives late and he gets swept up in the frenzy. Everyone in the aisle is forced off the plane, which includes Alex, Carter, Billy, and Terry.
Yeah. Well,
Miss-
because that's her whole role in this movie is Carter, no, stop, not now.
Yeah.
So she had to jump in the aisle to try to stop him.
And she did, and she got her ass kicked off for it.
Yeah.
Miss Luton and Mr. Murnau join them to try and figure out what the hell even happened.
Yeah.
Todd also gets off the plane after George tells him to go check on Alex. Clear, who is me in this scenario, notices
100%.
everything that's happening and decides to remove herself from the plane.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dude.
I would have done the same thing.
I am not 100% super superstitious anymore, but that happens on a plane I'm on. I'm not flying on that plane.
I am 100% superstitious anymore, and you got me fucked up. You let me off, or I'm gonna blow
Excuse
up.
me. Yeah, that's all you have to do. You have to scream it now. Like, get her off. You're like, thank you.
Thank you.
But all the students are taken back into the airport and sat down by security. The captain comes out and he's like, I'm not letting any of them back on board. And Miss Luton immediately tries to appeal to him because she's like, look, they're on a fucking trip to Paris. 40 students, all of them,
Yeah.
no supervision by adults. You need to let at least one of us back on this plane. And he's like, fine, I'll let either you or him return, but not both of you. I don't know why. It's such a weird, arbitrary rule.
Making a stance.
They weren't fighting. So she talks to Mr. Murnau, and he's like, I'll stay here with the kids. And she's like, no, you know the whole French thing. Go and get on the plane. I'll just take a later flight with them. And he's like, all right. Billy also tries to appeal to get back on the plane because he honestly didn't do anything. But
Didn't do anything.
it does not work out. He's like, I was just late. I was in the bathroom. He's the comic relief, obviously.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, he is. He's the stew.
Yes, very much. But the students watch as the plane takes off, and Miss Luton tries to get Alex to explain what even happened. He tells her about the vision, how it felt, how it was like really happening, which for some reason angers Carter even more. And so he's like, you know, we got kicked off a plane just because Browning had a bad fucking dream. And he's like, Alex is like, the only trip you're taking is to the hospital. I don't know why.
Where did this
I
animosity
don't
come
know.
know.
But they start to fight now. And then they get pulled apart, and Alex is like, I wish you were on that plane, which is like,
Ooh.
you're the only one that saw what happened.
That was a lot.
That's real fucked up. But Billy is the only one now at the window, and he's looking outside, and he's watching the plane as it reaches the sky. Almost immediately, it explodes into a ball of fire, and the blast shatters all the windows in the airport, and everyone stares out in horror as emergency vehicles are speeding towards the crash site.
And I mean, not only have I seen this movie before, but even if you haven't seen this movie before, you know what's going to happen to that plane.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still got goosebumps when it exploded.
You know, yeah.
It,
The way it does, and then it's like it silently happens, and then everybody realizes it's happening, the glass shatters. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I read that they built a model and exploded that model, but they had to get it just right to where it looked proper in the sky.
Well, yeah.
I can't even imagine. Well, they didn't
No.
they didn't blow up a real 747
Are you
for
sure?
this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like 90%. But in the next scene, we see our group together in a white room. Everyone stares at Alex, understandably, but he tells them he didn't cause this to happen. Miss Luton's like, did anyone survive? And he's like, how do I know?
Yeah, I thought it was very strange that she
Yeah.
asked him, are there any survivors?
I was like, when did your vision end?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, you got ate up by the fire too, so fucking you wouldn't
Yeah,
know
he-
anything.
Yeah, so I'm not.
It's like, yeah, part
I'm
of
not
my
the
vision
authority.
was 2 weeks later in the hospital. But Clear's like, Alex isn't a witch. But everyone's like, I don't know, man. Seemed pretty witchy to me. Just then, a representative from the NTSB and a couple of FBI agents walk in. The NTSB guy says that their families have been notified, the cause of the explosion is undetermined, and they're still searching for survivors. FBI agents Ween and Shrek interrupt. Yeah, I know. That's kind of weird.
Yeah,
Why'd they do that?
I don't know. Like, FBI agents Donkey and Shrek say they'll need to interview each of them while the events are still fresh in their mind. So Ween says that it'll help them locate potential survivors. How, I don't know. But he also says it'll help with any impending criminal investigations, and then they both stare down Alex, not even trying to hide it.
No.
The camera even zooms on them. They're like, they mean you.
You, Alex.
In the next scene, Alex is being interviewed, and they ask him if he took any drugs, why he said what he said, why he said he wished Carter was on the plane.
But that means that somebody had to tell them that.
Carter was like, and then he fucking said he wished. That's dog shit. But he basically said he just got a bad feeling, but that he didn't think it was actually going to happen, which honestly doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, because he was like, this plane's going to explode.
Like you were noted as saying, quote, this fucking plane's going to explode. But after this, we see Todd is interviewed next, realizing that his brother stayed on the plane and is dead. We see the moment that it happens. It's very sad.
Because, like you said, you literally see the realization come over his face. Like, oh my God, he stayed.
We then see Mrs. Luton racked with guilt for sending Mr. Murnau back onto the plane. Then we see the FBI agents super confused interviewing Clear, asking why she even got off the plane if she doesn't know Alex, isn't friends with any of the people who left or anything, and she just says that she believed Alex when he got up and said that.
Yeah.
But they're like, what? Explain
you don't
to
even
me.
have friends.
Yeah,
so
I know. All right.
Why did you even want to live?
That's neither here nor there. It's fucked. But after the interviews, all the survivors are waiting in that white room again when all their families burst in. Alex hugs his parents, and his mom doesn't apologize for ripping off that baggage tag. He should have been like, she's the one you want. Yeah. But he played it real cool, and I respect that. But I don't know if you noticed, Carter's father very coldly goes, there he is. When he sees his son. It's fucked. But Todd's dad...
Oh, you didn't die?
Damn.
Oh,
well. Todd's dad kind of stares at Alex as he hugs his son.
Yeah.
Which he shouldn't know anything yet.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Unless he's like best friends with Agents Shrek and Donkey.
You're totally right. All he knows is one of his sons.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't know Alex had any part of it.
Yeah, you're right.
But Clear's family never shows, so Alex's parents give her a ride home in the rain.
They give her a ride to a street.
To a muddy, wet street.
I was like, God damn, you couldn't have pulled up to the house.
Like, the rest of the way?
Get out.
We gotta get home. Clear is staring at Alex the whole drive, and he's just sitting there silently. They finally get home, the Brownings, and we peer in through the rain into Alex's monkey skeleton window as he walks into his bedroom with his family, and he looks around for a second and then just breaks down crying.
Sad.
His mom hugs him, but his dad just stands there with his hands in his pockets.
His dad nods in approval.
Exactly, yeah. Yes, sir. But in the living room, they watch the latest news on Flight 180, where they say all passengers are presumed dead. Alex's parents are asleep, but he continues watching with tears in his eyes. A loud thunderclap snaps his focus away from the television, and he gets up to look out the window. Outside, a bolt of lightning just strikes his street. It's like, I didn't forget about you.
You're on borrowed time, motherfucker.
According to IMDb, the footage on the TV was from a real crash from TWA Flight 800 in 1996, which also took off from JFK Airport, also carrying a French club.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so I read Roger Ebert's review. He was like, that's poor taste.
I was going to say, is that disrespectful?
I think it has to be. Now, one of the writers said, oh, that's not true, but they never gave any evidence as to why, because they said, oh, this wasn't based on that plane crash, but it's literally the plane crash.
Stop it.
Just admit it.
I wanted to ask you guys, and I don't even know if it's okay to ask this, but like, this movie was made in 2000. Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that this movie even could have been made after, like, post 9/11?
Short answer, no. Long answer, no. Dude, I don't think so at all. I read an interview, actually. Kerr Smith was saying that I think he did some movie that was called Ground Zero after they made this, and they had to change the title of the movie.
Whoa.
And then they ended up not even releasing the movie because it was called Ground Zero previously.
Fucking A.
So, I mean, the title change alone wasn't enough on a different movie. So a movie with a plane crash taken off from New York, that wouldn't work.
Right.
I did read, though, that they said with the new protocols after 9/11, if Alex Browning were to have said that,
God.
the plane would have never taken off, period. They would have taken everyone off the plane. It wouldn't have just been the people in the aisle.
Right.
They would have grounded the plane. They would have fucking checked everything, and that flight would have never been made.
I thought it was odd that as soon as they got kicked off and a couple of people went back on, or I guess the French teacher went back on, they're like, we got a fucking schedule to keep.
Yeah.
Like, they were in the air immediately.
They're like, we want to be eating croissants.
Yeah,
at
they
fucking
did. They took off fast.
immediately.
Just gone. But in the next scene, it's 39 days later, and they're having a memorial at Mount Abraham High School for the 39 students and faculty who died.
Did you see the girl behind Alex, though?
Just fucking staring
at him.
Was she the only extra that got direction? Because nobody else was. I feel like everybody would be.
I thought that I seen her looking at him, and I was like, "That's not." But
He was staring straight at him the whole time.
I feel like
not blinking.
If you went to this high school and there was a kid that predicted this plane crash, got people off the plane, and they survived, wouldn't everybody
he's
think he
sitting
was
there.
strange and
Yeah.
look at him a lot? I don't know. But they unveil a memorial statue, and everyone approaches it to pay their respects. There's a song that's playing during the memorial. I thought it was playing over a loudspeaker, but it's a guy performing it live. And I tried to look it up before I knew that to see if he had also died in a plane crash or something. But it turns out there's barely any information on this song, and it was never released, and a bunch of fans are clamoring for it. I mean, it's all right. But everyone's like, this song fucking it hits me in the heart. I was like, I'm glad. I'm happy for you. But in the line, Carter gets into it with Alex, basically saying he doesn't owe him anything. He's like, I control my life. I'll never die. I'm like, let's...
Again, cartoonish.
It's
yeah,
bad.
I didn't understand what his deal was.
No.
Like, what's his problem?
What
I was
is
like,
wrong
what's
with
happening?
And he can't even thank Alex in a weird way. I mean, if it wasn't for that, you would be dead.
Or just say nothing.
Yeah,
Don't
that's-
come at him
or
like,
just-
You don't have to say a word. That's
you
true.
fucker, you saved my... You didn't
Yeah,
save my...
how dare you? I'm alive. For me, I did it.
I'm never going to die. Like, I don't understand.
But Terry breaks it up, and Billy approaches Alex. He tells him, I guess he's just trying to make small talk. He's like, I passed my driving test last week.
Cool, Billy.
Yeah, it's like, that's great,
Cool.
man. But he does tell him that he barely passed it. And okay, so he passed it, but the guy that gave him the test is like, you're going to die young. Why would you pass me, man?
I'd be like, can I talk to your
Why would
manager?
you say
please?
that?
Yeah, that's fucked. But he's like, is that true? And Alex is like, you're not going to die, man. Not now, not ever. It's like, you're, again,
It's like, Billy's treating him like a magic 8-ball.
he is.
Yeah.
He still looks shaken, and then he comes back and he's like, hey, should I ask this girl out?
Ask me later. I don't...
Yeah, that felt improvised, though, and he's like,
Yeah, it did.
yeah. But Alex approaches Mrs. Luton, who's standing in front of a pile of roses at the monument, and she tells him not to talk to her because he scares the hell out of her.
She didn't have to do him like that. She didn't have to do him like that.
She stormed off, and I was like, well, it's the guilt of Mr. Murnau. I don't think it has anything to do with Alex.
I mean, I guess you're right, but goddamn, like, why is everybody being so mean to him?
Not only that, he's still supposed to be a kid.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah,
it's
that's
like-
true. I forget.
You're a fucking freak. It's like,
Well,
well,
she didn't go
dude,
that hard.
It felt like it.
Todd then walks up to Alex, and they talk a little bit about how after everything, I guess his dad is taking everything really hard, obviously, but he's like, after everything calms down a bit, we'll take a road trip to the city and we'll hang out like we used to do. But then he takes off because I guess he's going to read something in front of the memorial
Yeah.
for everyone. As he leaves, Clear approaches Alex with a white rose and tells him that he's the only reason she's alive, which is honestly what Carter should have also been saying. She's basically the anti-Carter.
Well, yeah, and she's the only one making sense.
Yeah.
Like, nobody has gratitude for this dude.
No, they're like, they are. You're like, fucking freak. Thanks for, I'm alive though, thank you. But just as she thanks him, some dude snaps a photo of them for the newspaper using flash in broad daylight, by the way. I don't know. It's not good photography, but Todd reads from The Guermantes Way by Marcel Proust. The passage is pretty damn depressing, basically saying we all think of death as this faraway concept without realizing it could be a part of the day we're already living. And it did seem really dark, but it does turn out that after looking online, a lot of tragedies, this passage is often read.
Jeez.
That kind of surprised me.
I mean, it's sad, but it's like, it puts it in perspective. Like, it's true.
You
don't
don't have
want
to
it to
say
be
it.
true. I know. I don't want to talk about it or think
Yeah.
about it, but it's true.
I think that gets at the heart of why this movie is good.
And
is
why it's
because
scary.
It speaks to a fear that literally every human being has, and a
Yeah.
reality that every human will face.
It's an inevitability, and
Yeah.
that's what makes it so scary, you know?
Mm-hmm. And to, like, the concept really hadn't been done in this manner.
Yeah, not in this way.
It was all right.
Oh my God. But we hear Todd finish the passage, and we see him walking into the bathroom later that night at his house. A breeze blows into the room from an open window, much like at the beginning of the film in Alex's room, and slowly blows the bathroom door shut. Todd isn't bothered by this.
No.
Not at all.
No. But he sits down on the toilet, which has honestly been most of his screen time at this point.
I was going to say, I don't think we needed to see Todd poop twice in one
No.
movie.
It's overkill. But thanks to him taking another poo, we see that there's water leaking from one of the pipes in the toilet.
Right.
At the same time, Alex is at his house doing a lot of research on plane crashes and explosions and the like. Probably not best to have those books
Yeah.
around.
I
when-
didn't think about that.
when
but
you're you're 100% under investigation.
Yes.
If the FBI is like, hey, can we take a look inside? No.
Yeah.
But Alex takes a sip of coffee and he looks at some paperwork. His fan, which I'm pretty sure is an antagonist in this film at this point, blows a newspaper open, and Alex grabs it and sees a photograph of Clear from the memorial on the front page. But then, no joke, Alex puts down the newspaper and decides to distract himself with a porno mag that's in his desk.
there's what else to take a break from the doom and gloom? Like, what do you
I
want?
don't know. He's like, I'm going to go the other way with it.
Yes.
But back in Todd's bathroom, he's attempting to shave without any shaving cream.
Yeah. He's really shitty at
He's
shit.
bad at it. He just, and immediately, the first he nicks his neck, immediately
He
starts
doesn't
bleeding.
even have anything on his face.
No.
to shave.
There's no hair. There's nothing. No stubble.
I thought that was a very weird
Yeah.
thing to do.
I feel like it was, and it would have made more sense if the character had facial hair, but a lot of just misdirection.
Yeah,
that
that's a lot.
he might cut himself or nick an artery or slit his own throat or like we're
And that's-
expecting this thing to happen, so we got to see all the ways that it could happen.
That is one thing I do like about this movie is they do a lot of misdirection.
lot.
Because even in this scene, the water is like growing on the floor towards him, and he starts to trim his nose hair with scissors. Like, I mean, you think he's gonna fall. You think all this
Yeah.
stuff is gonna happen, but oddly, the water was like methodically tracing the tiles.
Yeah.
Todd sees a dark shadow move behind him in the mirror, and he turns around and sees nothing.
Yeah, but like he turned all the way around and scanned the room, but he still didn't see the water all over the floor.
He didn't look down.
He scanned the room.
Yeah, I know. But after he tries to trim his nose hair, he puts the scissors down and basically abandons that as soon as it begins. He decides to plug in his radio to put on some music, but Rocky Mountain High by John Denver starts playing, so he unplugs it immediately and walks away before the water reaches him.
And sparks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, you're like, he's going to be electrocuted. You know, it's a lot going on. And so I do think it's pretty effective suspense-wise.
Yeah. Well, because the stakes get bigger every time almost. Because you're like, oh,
He's going to.
yeah, you know what's going to happen.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Back in Alex's room, he's literally smiling at the porno he's looking at. And then he looks over at the newspaper again, deciding maybe I should put this down and read that instead.
Enough porn. Gotta
Yeah.
get back to work.
But before he can put his porn away, an owl lands on his windowsill.
Very aggressively.
It looks pissed.
It looks super mad.
I did read that owls are supposedly an omen of death. So
Right.
again, it's another one of those things. But oddly and kind of instinctively, he just throws the porn at the owl.
The window.
Yeah. And it hits that famous fan and just gets destroyed.
Would the fan shred it up like that?
It wouldn't have gotten into the fan.
That's why I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a weird thing to do.
It had a guard on it, you know?
Yeah.
But
I was confused.
an errant piece of the magazine lands on his leg. He picks it up and it says Todd. Now, the page he was looking at earlier, it said today at the
Today,
top.
yeah.
And so it was literally from the page he was looking at.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, more foreshadowing. Kind of interesting. But back in Todd's bathroom, Todd opens up the shower curtain and we see a bunch of clothes drying on a clothesline. Just as he's gotten all the clothes off, the water has finally reached him and he slips, falling neck first into the line, which just wraps around his throat in a very odd... I don't know how physically that happened.
Yeah.
Because he was just kind of hovering there like, oh, just letting it go around. But it's jarring when it happens. It's fucking intense. But he knocks over shampoo as he falls into the tub and is being strangled. The shampoo in the tub is keeping him from gaining any kind of footing as the wire gets tighter. We get this shot of the blood vessels bursting in his eye.
It
Which
looks crazy.
That always fucked with me as a kid. It's real bad. But we also get a shot of Todd's father sleeping in the living room as his son's just in the other room struggling for his life.
Yeah.
But on the counter, Todd sees that pair of scissors he was using to trim his nose hairs, and he reaches for them, but they're way too far away. So he just clutches his throat, slowly goes limp, and dies. Now, the water, for some reason, recedes back underneath the toilet. It was obviously clearly done by reversing the footage, but why would Death need to keep this a secret?
Its work is done.
But why is it like, okay, this is like a slasher where Death itself is the killer, but it's not like they're going to arrest Death if they find out
right.
it was
and
a part of it.
I had a problem with that too because, and we'll get to it in a second, but it's almost like Death didn't want anything to dispute that this was a suicide. But like, why would that matter?
Is it mad at Alex, so it's just trying to fuck with him specifically?
I mean, I don't...
You know? Because as it comes out later, this isn't good for Alex either.
Like,
but
nah.
yeah, like try to cheat me. Well, guess what?
But and then honestly, this doesn't look like a suicide.
No,
anyway.
not at all.
And
No.
so like that bothered me too. There's a couple things from a detective or like a forensic standpoint in this movie that I was like, excuse me,
Well,
that's not how that works.
It's like open and shut case, Johnson, but no.
No.
It is a wide open case.
But
open and open case, Johnson.
he's digging at his neck, trying to get the wire off. He's trying to gain purchase in the tub. You can tell by all that. Like this was not a suicide.
No,
it wasn't.
The shampoo.
Yeah. And so the water receding back to hell or whatever.
It's like,
it didn't make a lot of sense if you think about it.
I had a problem with this scene for a number of reasons, and I think it just kind of, I don't know. Well, for one, like we said, he's going to shave with no shaving cream. There's no hair on his face. There's nothing. What are you doing with that? And then, how old is that razor that you're using?
it was from the 30s, I think.
Nobody, come on.
Todd's grandfather gave it to
He
him.
seems very, maybe I'll shave my face. Maybe I'll trim my nose hairs. Now let's listen to some music.
That was another thing. I've never gone to trim my nose hairs, stopped what I'm doing, plugged in a radio, heard a song for 2 seconds, unplugged it, turned back around. You know what? I'm going to take a shower. Like everything is just.
I mean,
finish one thing.
I think the only thing that I could chalk it up to, at least to, I guess, defend the filmmakers a little bit, his brain is all
lost.
over the place.
Yeah, I can see that.
His brother just died, but at the same time, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All that aside, I will say it's probably the most iconic death in the film, aside from the plane crash.
Yeah.
Right. And I had said before that there was only one scene that I really remembered, and it was this.
Yes.
This was the scene that, for some reason, out of the whole movie, this is the scene that stuck with me.
I think it might be his performance, because seeing him struggle to breathe, it is
and his
rough.
eyes.
Yeah. Oh.
And his feet. Like,
Yeah.
all of it. It's like, it's a lot.
It's shot very well, even though it...
No, that
maybe
that
doesn't
was,
make the most sense.
Yeah. But we then see Alex arriving at Todd's house to see an ambulance and the coroner taking him away. Clear, who for some reason is there hiding behind a tree, whispers to Alex and tells him to get out of there. I'm like, is she a figment of his
What
imagination?
the hell are you doing
Yeah.
here?
We see the FBI agents are there too. So Todd's parents come out, and Todd's dad blames Alex immediately, says that Todd killed himself because he felt guilty about George staying on the plane. Alex is like, no.
He
Todd
wouldn't do
and
that.
I,
Yeah.
we were making plans after you got better. Why would we make plans if he was just going to kill himself? And Todd's dad just walks away. He's like, I don't know.
You killed him.
Yeah. Alex sees the coroner close the van, and the FBI agents look at him suspiciously. He then looks to see that Clear has just ghosted like Batman does, and the van pulls away. The next day, Alex walks to Clear's house. She's outside doing some welding. I guess it's like an art situation. But he interrupts her.
What is her house?
I
I'm
don't
sorry, I don't
know.
mean to interrupt, but what the hell's
And for
going
the
on
story
there?
she tells later, it's a nice fucking
I
house. So I don't really
that
understand.
story. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But what the hell is happening?
I
here?
don't know. But Alex interrupts her and asks why she was at Todd's house last night. She starts talking about the seasons changing and then speculates that the FBI still doesn't know what caused the crash and that Alex probably looks super suspicious because not only did he have that vision and say all that shit, but he was also there at Todd's house the night he died. Alex is like, yeah, but why were you there?
Can you answer my question?
And she's like, hey, what do you think this art piece is? And he's like, sufficiently distracted somehow. And he's like, oh, well, I don't know. And she goes, well, it's you. And then launches into some cringe dialogue,
No,
man.
what's funny is she says it's how you make me feel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
he goes,
didn't-
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Dude.
Clear.
No, that's
Who
great.
hurt
Yeah.
you?
She says that. It represents how he makes her feel. It's not
He's
a
like-
likeness,
he's
he
like,
says.
"Ooh, damn."
Which is good. He's like, I look like that? Fuck. Jeez, man. I always thought I was a 5. I guess I'm a 2. But she explains that she felt what he felt on the plane, even though she didn't have a vision. And she says she can still feel him, which is why she was at Todd's house.
Again, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And
No.
also, when she is reacting to what's going on in the plane, she doesn't look like she's feeling what he's feeling. She looks
No.
like, oh,
Yeah.
I believe what he's saying. She doesn't look like she's experiencing any of it for
Maybe if
herself.
she looked frantic, nervous, sweating,
Anything.
crying,
Anything.
she was just like, doesn't sound good. I'm getting out.
which is totally relatable and it makes sense on its
Yeah.
own. I don't feel like they needed to add that little
no.
me too.
No,
like I don't.
yeah.
It's odd
Because
to me.
even if you just have her being a person that experienced this, she doesn't need this empath stuff going on.
No, yeah.
That's enough because she's literally the only character that's not treating him like shit
yeah,
for
and
what happened.
she's
No,
the only one that believed him enough to feel like her life was in danger.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't really. You don't get points for believing him if you were also like, this fucking plane's about to
Yeah.
explode.
It's just now you had a bad
you
feeling.
also knew.
Yeah.
I
don't like
I don't
that.
like that either.
And I don't know if this is their clunky way of trying to forge a romance between the two of them, which again we'll talk about later, but it just doesn't work for me.
I feel like, and I'll bring this up when it happens, but I feel like this whole thing is for something that happens later.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
But Alex tells Clear that he doesn't know why, but he feels like Todd might have just been the first. Basically saying that death might not be done with him, but that he would know more if he could see Todd one last time. I don't understand that, but Clear says they should and they can.
Well, okay, I feel like Alex meant if I could just talk to him again, if I could have just seen him one more
Yeah.
time before he
That's
died.
what
And
I
Claire's
thought.
like, one dead body coming up, Alex. Claire's like, you see him one more time?
Gotcha.
Bet.
Got you covered.
That's not what he meant.
But they do. Because cut to them fucking breaking into a funeral home through
Yeah.
a skylight.
Yeah, they were cat burglars
Yeah,
out of nowhere.
seriously.
Just-
I don't understand this. It's like, does Clear do this all the
Yeah,
time?
no.
It looked like it.
Well, she says, she's
Well,
like,
yeah,
it
she-
gives me a rush. I'm like, calm down, Legion of Doom. Like, holy shit. This should be a somber affair, but she's like, hell yeah.
I thought
Like,
that was
is anybody else turned on right now? It's like,
I
what
thought
the
that
fuck?
was a bit out of place.
It really was.
It was. And
Especially after what he
Yeah.
just said. I wish I could have spoken to my dead best friend one last time. And she's like, ooh.
She's like, rock and roll.
It's like, we should fucking rob a liquor store after this. But they break into, I guess, the mortician's office. I'm not sure what you call it. It's the slab, the place where he gets his work done. Todd is on that slab in the middle of being worked on. Clear is like, why did they make him up to look like Michael Jackson? And Alex is probably like, yeah, this is why we didn't talk before this. It doesn't, I feel like it betrays the character they were trying to create for Clear.
Yeah.
Because now why is she just cracking jokes and fucking like a renegade?
And where did he get that tool to open the door? Because
I
it was
don't know.
perfectly made to go in between the doors, turn,
And just, yeah.
and just open it.
You got it from Clear.
Hey,
She
luckily,
does this all the time.
Yeah,
It's like this only works at the mortician's office. But just then, Todd's arm spasms and they jump back. Then out of the darkness comes the mortician, William Bloodworth, played by the master himself, Tony Todd.
It's Candyman.
He brings such gravitas to this role. Honestly, we were talking earlier, and JP, we thought he was in this movie more.
Yeah, I could have swore he was.
Yes.
He's not.
Yeah, he's really not.
He's so impactful that he has one scene, but you're like,
yeah, I thought he
this
was
is his
throughout
movie.
the movie.
I thought he was the star.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
like,
this was
isn't
Candyman too.
Tony Todd's Final Destination starring Tony Todd. But he's like, shh, you'll wake the dead. And you're like, oh, shit.
And he's got that
This
voice,
is it.
man.
He tells him the arm spasmed because of chemicals.
That was a
big, yeah.
That's a bit much for
Like,
me.
all right, I had some strings attached. I was Clear breaks in here all the time. I was trying to scare the shit out of her. I didn't know she'd bring a friend. She doesn't have any, but they ask about the markings around Todd's neck, and he tells them that they're cuticle lacerations from him trying to pull the wire, which Alex says proves that it was an accident and not suicide.
Which is a conclusion come to by a teenage boy that the FBI is like, this is normal.
Yeah.
This is a suicide.
Oh, it just happens like that. So I'm sorry, you in the FBI? Yeah, I didn't think so. Suicide. Anyways, Bloodworth tells him that in death, there are no accidents and no escapes. He says that he knows who Alex is, and then goes on to basically explain that everything we do, no matter how large or small, is all a part of death's design.
Yeah, he's all up in their business. Like, he knows all their business.
Yeah.
And he's very chill for these two kids having just broken in here.
Yeah.
Like, what? It happens.
He like doesn't even blink.
No.
And just starts having a conversation with them.
Alex asks if they know the design, can they cheat death? Bloodworth explains that they've already done that by getting off the plane, but that Todd's death has proven that death has a new design. He basically tells them that they can try to cheat death if they think they can get away with it, but disrespecting death's design could bring on a fury that would terrorize the Grim Reaper. And he says, and you don't want to fuck with that, Mac Daddy. And then he pulls a fucking tool out of Todd's shoulder, and blood spurts out, and they're like, Jesus Christ.
And he laughs.
He does laugh.
Like,
He's like, he's just great. I don't know.
I feel like he didn't have to do that in front of me.
No, he really didn't. He's like, this was your best friend, right? But after he sees that, Alex apologizes for breaking in, and he says basically they'll get out of his hair. But Bloodworth is like, I'll see you real soon.
He's like, just say my name 5 times in a minute.
That's all you need. I'll be right there. This leads into something about the franchise that we'll get into in future installments if we cover them, but Bloodworth appears in all of the films, all of them, and it's unclear just how much he knows about this, why he knows it, how he knows it, or if he's just some cryptic, creepy mortician who's just talking out of his ass.
But he knows he's not talking out of his ass because he knew their business. He knew his name. He knew the circumstances. He knew their business.
Yeah, he did call him Alex. He wasn't like, hi, I'm Alex.
And he was like, you walked off that plane. Like, he knew all their shit.
But what is death as a Mac Daddy? What does that mean?
The Grim Reaper is the Mac Daddy.
Well, I don't know what that means.
I just think it sounds cool.
Just don't fuck with
I think
them.
Tony Todd could say anything and it would sound cool. I don't need Morgan Freeman narrating my life. I need Tony Todd. But that's the last we see of Tony Todd, unfortunately. But great job.
Kudos to Tony Todd.
In the next scene, Alex and Clear discuss Death's design over coffee, with a lot of it sounding similar to the butterfly effect.
Yeah. Yes. I noticed that too.
Right? He passes Clear the note from the porno mag without telling her where it's from.
I was going to say, is she like, did this come from?
He's like, no, don't touch that. But he says that there are hints of the design everywhere and they just need to pay attention to it. Clear makes a pretty corny supposition about coffee, and I don't know if you recall that.
Yeah, her cup is empty also. And and it's okay that it's corny because Alex is not listening to it.
No, he's not at all. He sees in the window of the coffee shop a bus speed by, but as he turns around, the bus is not there. It's actually a pretty neat shot because it's one fluid motion going around him, and I'm sure they just, spliced in the bus in the window, but it still looks pretty neat. But Alex postulates that since they've cheated Death's design once by getting off the plane, if they were to figure out the new design, it's possible they could cheat it again. Just then, we see Carter and Terry pull up in Carter's car, listening to Into the Void by 9 Inch Nails, which, great song. Carter's an asshole, but that's pretty good taste in music.
Great song, but
yes,
the second they pull up, Trent Reznor goes, Final Destination.
He does.
And I fucking laughed out loud.
Well, here's the thing, is the song was not written for the movie. The song is just a song on its own, and they used it. And the movie wasn't even called Final Destination at the time. But not knowing those things and watching it and hearing that, pretty fucking hilarious.
It's so funny. Like, it's so ridiculous.
But Clear says that after hearing Alex out, she thinks Todd killed himself.
Problem.
Yes.
I feel like they did not know what to do with Clear's character.
I will agree with you.
Because initially she believes him enough to get off the plane herself.
Mm-hmm.
Then she telepathically felt his fucking vision or some shit. And then now she's like, you know what? I don't believe you at all. Like,
Well, my question is like...
there's no... it doesn't make any sense to me.
After the conversation with Bloodworth...
How do you not...
And Alex is just taking it to the next level. He's literally saying what we just heard, and he's like... elaborating on it.
She's
but
like,
now
wow,
you're like,
this guy's crazy.
Like, what
it's
the
almost
fuck?
like they had two characters and merged it into her
That's fair.
because there's no cohesiveness. Like, and when she was like, I believe that he did kill him. I'm like, bitch, what are you talking
and
about?
Alex just looks defeated. He's like, Pepperjack, are you serious? Just sad.
I don't like that.
No. But Carter drives off, but then he decides to turn the car around, nearly running over Billy, who's riding his bike nearby for some reason.
But he got his license.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe he doesn't have a car. He's like, I'm
Maybe he's scared.
Yeah,
He's
I
like,
guess.
you're going to fucking die.
young, he said. Never mind, not driving. But in one shot, it's clearly a stuntman who looks nothing like Sean William Scott. And it's really bad because with the rule of thirds, the stuntman's face is right where your eye is drawn to immediately. And the shot lingers there just enough to notice that this is a stuntman. I took a picture and I sent it to Mom, and she's like, more like Sean William not. And I was like, that's pretty good.
That's great.
But Carter pulls up to Alex and Clear and gets out of the car against Terry's protests.
Now, why is she even with him? I think I've already asked that, but
I don't know.
How annoying would this be? Like, you guys are
Every
going to
single
get
time.
lunch, and
Yeah.
I got to pull
Now he's
over
gotta
and beat
fight
this dude's
this kid.
ass. Yeah.
We do see Carter's license plate, though. It begins with RFK, which is possibly a reference to Robert Kennedy, who also died an untimely death.
Ooh, okay.
I love these little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But just before Carter accosts Alex, we see Mrs. Luton come out of the coffee shop. I guess everybody's here. Now,
It's a little cheesy.
Carter's like, oh, it's a little reunion. I'm like, you can't explain that away with that line.
No.
Nice try, but...
What a coincidence.
Yeah. So we learned that she's moving in a couple weeks, which Carter blames on Alex. Alex is like, we're all in danger. And Terry's like, enough. She's fucking over it. She says that she's not going to let this plane crash define her life. But she's like, we all need to move on. She says that if Carter's just going to beat the shit out of Alex every single time that he sees him, then he can just drop fucking dead. As she says this, the bus from Alex's premonition arrives out of nowhere, hitting Terry and killing her.
Bam, bitch went down.
Dude, and I know I'd said about Todd's death being the most iconic. I feel like this one is the one that people probably remember.
Yeah, because that's the first time I ever saw some shit like that.
And it's been copied a lot. It was on Nip Tuck, dude. Like, I mean, and it's shocking. The first time you see it, you're not expecting it at all.
No, literally at all. It's like the first time I saw it when you were a kid.
When
the
I
first
was a
time you saw it.
kid, yeah.
And it really hadn't been done. Now it's kind of like, oh, they're
It's a little
standing in the
played
street
out.
yelling.
Yeah.
You're about to get fucking, like, no.
You can telegraph it now, but back then you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, it was startling.
Again, I feel like you said, they all showed up, and it's like, you can't just...
That was
Why
dumb.
are you out here?
Yeah.
That was dumb.
I feel like that was already telling you, okay, somebody's fixing to die right now. And it's like,
With all of
really?
them
Yeah.
It's
Why?
just like-
Why? And then I think what killed it for me was when the teacher came. And then it was like, oh,
I was like, it's
now
enough.
someone's
Dude,
dying.
it's enough
Yeah.
with Carter, but then he had to
Right.
almost run over Billy.
And
then it's like...
I could understand if it was like the kids, maybe they all hang out and they live
Right.
in the same neighborhood or whatever. But then the teacher comes and he's like, oh, hey.
I
Like,
will
what
give
the hell?
you that. I completely
Yeah, I was
agree
a
with
little-
you there.
yeah.
However, though, I wasn't expecting someone to die. I thought that
no.
Alex would just go on his rambling or whatever. Todd's death was so almost.
Yeah.
You got to be quicker than that. And then she's there and then she's gone. Like you were.
Well, no, yeah, I
there's
get
no
it,
way
but
to expect that.
I feel like I said, them all being there was like, don't blink because you're gonna miss it. Somebody's dying right now.
I
And
guess
it
I
was
can.
like,
I guess I can see that, but I didn't feel that way at all. That
as a
shit
kid.
took me
Well,
by
no,
surprise.
not as a kid, but
now-
watching it now,
yeah.
I was like, all right,
You see it
this-
coming.
Yeah, I was like, this is happening.
But it's pretty neat how they did that. They made like a life cast of her and just kind of put it there, and they spliced within one frame the change between her and the life
Wow,
cast.
you can't even
No,
tell.
Yeah,
not at
no.
all. It always gets me still,
Yeah.
even though I know
you
it's
know
coming.
it's coming.
But in the next scene, we see Alex calmly drinking water with Alka-Seltzer in it, as if he didn't just see someone get murdered right in front of him.
Well, I mean, that would make my tummy hurt too. But also, they added the Alka-Seltzer, because he's drinking it, and then we see Clear drinking
Right.
it. They added it because when they had shown this to test audiences or whatever, they could not transition into another scene. They needed a minute to chill out from seeing what just happened, because their minds were blown.
and I get in 2000,
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the Alka-Seltzer is kind of like, all right, get your mind
Yeah.
right, because we still got to
we got
tell
more
a story.
shit. Yeah. But Clear does call with her Alka-Seltzer as well. Alex's dad answers the phone and he lies and says Alex is in the shower because Alex doesn't really want to talk to anybody. Alex says there's something he needs to understand before he can talk to anyone. Just then, a news report explains the cause of the crash, which includes a diagram of the seating in the cabin. The line of a leak coincides with the seating of the survivors, which Alex then traces in order to further understand death's design. So, very quickly, the problem that I have here is that he's clearly wrong, because the diagram that we see, the explosion starts at a point that's on a window seat. He says that's Todd's seat. Todd was sitting in the aisle.
Yeah, you're right. You're
And
right.
in the next shot, though, when he's tracing it off the computer, the explosion then starts at an aisle seat.
Well, man, they had to
They're
fix
like,
it.
oh, shit. Yeah.
Todd wasn't at the window.
But after tracing, he puts it on top of a diagram of the seating, and he realizes that not only are people dying in the order they would have died in the plane crash, but that Miss Luton is next. In the next scene, we're at Miss Luton's house.
Right.
She's on the phone with someone as she's packing, telling them how she's feeling guilty over Murnau's death.
What was that creepy ass puppet that was sitting there? Did you see that?
I don't want to know.
Yeah. It was like horrifying.
She's like, I'm leaving that here. I'm leaving that behind. But I thought, I mean, this scene's really sad because she's basically saying that she lived her whole life here and she used to have all these good memories, but now she basically just sees tragedy everywhere she looks. She's like, I can't even look out my own front yard without feeling some type of way. And it's Alex. When she looks out the front yard, he's just there, just skulking around. Yeah. So she immediately gets off the phone and calls the FBI. Alex, completely unaware of how bad this looks, starts crawling under Miss Luton's car, and he's like pushing on her tires just as the FBI shows up.
It's like, oh, baby, no, what is you doing?
It looks so bad. First of all, the response time is amazing for the FBI. They're like, Alex Browning?
Alex, exactly.
Yeah,
they
they
heard
got
the
there
name.
fast.
Yeah.
But they ask him what he's doing, and he's like, I was just checking the air and the tire, make sure it's safe. And they're like, get in the car.
What's funny is he's like, yes, sir. Like,
Yeah. Well, he's like, I'm not even going to try to lie. And it's funny because you see it silently from Miss Luton's window that it's just, he's gone.
he didn't even try to explain. He's like, all right.
Yeah. Yes, sir. But as he's leaving, Miss Luton returns to packing, just as a breeze rolls in, despite the window being closed. In the next scene, Alex explains to the FBI about Death's design and says there's a pattern. They're like, we've also noticed a pattern, which is basically that Alex's ass keeps showing up everywhere. Back in Luton's house, she puts on a John Denver record, which she remarks to herself was her mom's favorite.
Yeah, but girl.
Time and place. Back at the station, Alex explains further that everyone at school thinks he's a freak, even though he saved 6 lives, which is fair. Very fair. He says that everyone has a design and that he's going to break this one. He genuinely sounds insane.
He sounds crazy as hell.
But back at Luton's house, she's making herself some tea, but as she's wiping the teapot with a towel, she sees the exact same black shadow that Todd saw in the bathroom mirror. She turns around to, of course, nothing.
Of course.
Yeah.
She throws the towel onto the knife block or holder or whatever it's called and puts the teapot on the stove. The eerie death wind blows out the flame, which she relights with no issue.
But
It's more.
exactly
Yeah,
more
misdirection.
misdirection because you're like, oh shit,
She's gonna
it's all
blow
gonna
up.
yeah.
Back in the station, the FBI explains to Alex that they don't think he caused the plane crash, but now that people have started dying, he's back under their suspicion. Agent Ween asks if he can promise that nobody else is going to die, which is a really weird request for the FBI to be asking. Alex is like, look, as long as I'm here, I can't promise that. And so they let him go.
Yeah.
What's funny to me is he pushes in his chair like I am done here.
Yeah. Won't be needing this. After he leaves, Agent Shrek says that at some points he almost believed Alex. Ween's like, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Luton pours herself some tea, but she notices it's in a Mount Abraham mug, and so she throws the water out and instead fills it with ice cubes and vodka.
Why did she throw the water out of the mug?
Because it was
the
the high
mug
school.
is for the school.
She's trying to get away from it.
That's why she's like, stop, it's just a stupid mug. But seeing the school, yeah.
It reminded her of everything.
It's a mug.
But she's
It's a cup.
trauma.
Yeah, but she was,
trauma.
Yeah.
She was also upset 5 minutes ago and then turned around all smiley and was like, let's put on some music.
She's going through a lot.
She did do that.
She's going through a lot. But when she pours the vodka, the mug cracks, which allows some of it to leak onto the counter.
Death loves leaks.
Death loves fucking Rube Goldberg machines.
Yes.
But
100%.
she continues packing as the vodka just drips all over the place, including into the back of her computer.
And she doesn't notice
Not
any
at
of
all.
it.
Not
It was
the trail.
very loud.
Yes.
It was
Well,
like,
she's like, I'm listening to John Denver. All right. The vodka in the computer causes sparks somehow, which Luton notices when smoke starts coming out of the back of it. She leans in for a closer look, and the screen explodes, which shoots glass into her throat. She pulls it out, which is a rookie mistake.
oh, yeah, don't do that.
Don't ever do that. But she slips on her own blood into the record player, which begins playing Rocky Mountain High. The shot was done in reverse with the glass going into her throat. They had it start with her holding the glass to her throat and then pulled it away with a string and then just reversed it for the film.
It looked good.
It looks
It
great.
It did.
I love how many little tricks and stuff
Yes.
they had because that stuff really you can't talk shit about.
Oh, no.
'Cause it looks great.
It looks fantastic. But Alex is free from the FBI and he's walking down the street, but he sees some guy burning a pile of leaves on his lawn. And we just said everything looks good, but Alex is then attacked by, I guess, some CGI leaves or something, and it does not look good at all. Spoke too soon. But Luton continues into the kitchen, but the computer sends out a spark, which starts a fire that follows the trail of spilled vodka into the kitchen.
It looks like it's following a trail of her blood.
True.
Because I was like, is her fucking blood flammable?
Her
'Cause
blood
it goes
alcohol
right.
content is.
How much has she been
Yeah.
drinking?
But the whole stove catches on fire, which then makes its way to the bottle of vodka itself and fucking explodes, sending her to the floor.
John Paul just looks annoyed.
She was drinking straight gas.
Yeah.
Straight gasoline.
How much vodka spilled for it to...
It's,
You know what I
it
mean?
was just one mug,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it wasn't
And
even the
it
full
was-
mug because she was still drinking.
Yeah.
And it was drips.
Yes.
It wasn't fucking
A
like
full trail.
Yeah.
And alcohol has to be at least 100 proof to light.
Right.
So that makes it like 50% vodka. I guess it's like how much it's cut with or whatever. But even if you light it, a breeze or you blowing on it blows out the flame.
it's not like an
It's-
inferno.
yeah.
She's got that
No.
good shit, okay?
I guess also death's involved.
Yeah,
I don't know. He's covering his tracks as he is wont to do. Alex makes it to Luton's house, and inside, she reaches for the towel that she left on the knife block. Doing so, she pulls the entire block down, which sends a knife falling, stabbing her right in the chest.
Of course. But what was she reaching for the towel for?
She wanted to clean it up.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
I'm
gotta
getting
clean
blood
it.
everywhere. But
I'm never going to be able to sell this house.
yeah, Alex runs inside when he hears her scream. He kneels by her side and tries to help her, but another explosion sends a chair falling on top of her, which plunges the knife deeper. Now,
No, that made me laugh.
Yeah.
That was overkill.
it was, isn't this enough? Haven't you done enough? But Alex moves the chair off of her and then for some reason pulls the knife out of her and assumes a serial killer stance.
Absolutely.
It's like, cool, if anybody sees this through the window, they'll think you just stabbed her to death. That's why I said death has it out for him.
You're not just some random dude trying to help. You are literally suspect
Yeah.
Yes,
number
already.
one. Only
Yes.
suspect.
But Alex drops the knife and runs
this
out of
woman
the
just
house.
called the cops on you. I'm
Yeah, she
sorry.
did.
I'm not
No,
that.
She did.
How
did.
does that look?
Horrible. Outside the house, Billy, for some reason, because this town is so small,
Yeah.
is riding by on his bike, and he's like, "Hey, Alex!" Just before Luton's entire house explodes.
Yeah.
Billy falls to the ground and watches Alex just run his ass off away
Yeah.
from the house fire.
Why wouldn't you call for help and be like, look, I tried to save her. Something happened. Now it looks bad.
It looks
It
worse.
looks
They
real bad.
showed his shoe print
Yeah.
and the blood.
Yeah.
They made sure that you seen it.
Yes.
And him and his crazy killer stance before he left.
God, yeah.
But he just runs away. He just, instead of being like, help, Billy, somebody get help, somebody something. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, fuck, I gotta get away.
No words.
Yeah.
And all, Billy said hi, dude. Say hi back. Hey, Bill.
Just
Right.
rude.
Fucking run off. But in the next scene, we see the FBI agents are at Clear's house, asking her to notify them if she hears from Alex. She said she won't hear from him because she didn't believe him about the death design stuff. At the high school that same night, Billy and Carter arrive in front of the monument. Carter gets out of the car and for about 5 seconds attempts to carve Terry's name into it along with the other victims of Flight 180, but I guess his knife is a piece of shit, so he just gives up.
It's a cheap-ass pocket knife.
How can I not get into this marble?
It's ridiculous.
But Clear walks over to them because apparently she asked them to meet her there. How she got a hold of them, I don't know, but here we are. Because they're not friends. She doesn't have their phone number, but whatever.
Yeah, sure.
She says since the FBI is probably watching her, they need to take her to Alex because he knows which one of them is going to die next. But why wouldn't the FBI have followed her here?
God damn it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand that.
Because it doesn't make sense.
No.
That's why you don't understand it.
But the next thing we see, they're on the way to Alex in Carter's car, listening to some funky-ass 90s sounding pop. But Billy is obviously nervous and tells Carter to drive the speed limit, pass on the right, follow the rules. And Carter's basically saying he doesn't matter if he's next or not because he's going to fucking kill him.
Yeah.
They arrive at the state park, which Clear somehow knows Alex will be there. She eventually stumbles upon him, and he asks...
I'm sorry. She doesn't stumble upon him. She walked directly fucking to him.
Yeah.
She was like, let's split up. You guys look over there. I'm going to look over here. Hi, Alex.
Yeah,
like,
there he
it's
is.
like, I was like, stop.
No, it was, took a beeline to him.
Yes.
He asks her if she thinks Flight 180 is still out there somewhere, flying safely in the sky. She basically tells him her whole life story about how when she was 10, her father was killed at a convenience store, and then her mother started dating a guy who didn't want children, so they basically got rid of her. She says that she's thought a lot about that somewhere where her dad is still alive and her family's still happy and Flight 180 is still up there and everyone gets a second chance. But she tells them they can't give up as they see a plane flying through the night sky.
So she's been on her own since she was 10 or what?
I'm not 100% sure.
And that's why she lives in a sculpture house?
A 2-story sculpture house.
I'm so confused by her whole situation.
I wish I could help you.
And also, when all the people come to pick up their kids after the plane crash, she's looking at the door like, is my mom coming?
Yeah.
So why was she
Who's
doing
the
that?
woman? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Clear is two characters merged into
they
one.
just at some point
Yes.
combine them. Now, this will come up later and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but this scene is somewhat infamous because in the original version, there's a deleted scene where this ends with them having sex.
Oh, I didn't know it was sex. I thought it was like, I love you. Because I'm 5.
Well, it's sex.
It's both.
It's both. So in the next scene, they're all in Carter's car. Clear says they're taking Alex to her father's cabin in the woods, which is only a few miles from her house. Carter asks Alex if he knew about Luton. Then Clear lets it slip that Billy called the FBI on Alex when he saw him leaving.
So he threw him right the fuck out.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, I saw Alex Browning.
BROW.
Yes, I'll hold. But turns out Alex left prints, like you said, and I guess is being framed by death.
Right. But this is another forensic issue that I have. Didn't this happen like tonight?
Yes.
How the fuck did they process fingerprints and shoe prints
In an
within
hour?
a couple hours at most?
I don't know.
That's not how that works. I know we all watch CSI. That's not how that works.
And you want to know the most ridiculous part is they would have had to leak that to the media as well, or call
them
Billy
to know.
personally and be like, yeah, you're right. We found his
Yeah.
prints. We found,
It
for
was
him to be
them.
able to tell them in the
Thanks,
car.
Billy.
Yeah, but Carter asked if he knew she was going to be next before she actually died, and Alex says he did. Carter pressures him to tell him who's next, but Alex says it doesn't matter because they're all on the same list anyway. I feel like he could have just answered him. I don't know why
wouldn't you
he
just
had to be a dick
tell
about
them?
it. Because Carter's like, oh, so now you're getting off and fucking having all this information.
Because there's a couple moments with Alex where he's like, I'm the one. It's like, no,
No,
dude.
there's one that comes up
He
in a
does.
second. That's
He
So like, are
fucking
you like
insane.
getting off? It's very odd. I'd be like, dude, yeah, it is. It's you.
At this point, Carter decides to take matters into his own hands. Since it doesn't matter anyway, he speeds through stop signs, red lights, he's fucking drifting, he's taking his hands off the steering wheel, narrowly avoiding death at every single turn.
This was super predictable to me. It was very predictable. It also reminded me of Nancy in The Craft.
Yes, me too, with the red lights.
Yes.
But as they're all screaming at Carter for him to stop, Alex has two premonitions. One of his seatbelt being ripped, which is back to normal when he looks back, and another of a train headed for the car. Clear yells for Carter to stop the car, which he finally does on the train tracks.
But if you were Alex, wouldn't you just be like, I just had another vision and it was a train? Like, wouldn't you?
Well, he's keeping his cards close to
I don't understand
his chest.
why.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's for me to know and you to find
I don't
out.
get it.
But they hear the horn of the train approaching, but Carter won't move the car. Billy, initially frozen in terror, gets out of the car, which allows Alex and Clear to get out as well.
I'm sorry, but when he was running through the lights and drifting and all that, and Billy was like, "Bleh," and grabs the wheel and Carter elbows him in the face, that had to be added because Sean William Scott had a cold sore on his lip. And so they had to cover it with a
That's
cut.
funny.
So they're like,
that's
elbow
why,
him in the face?
Yeah, that's why
just
he's
hit him.
fine. And then he has blood on his mouth for the rest of the scene.
That's fantastic. But they plead with Carter to get out of the car, but he just sits there. Eventually, he looks at the train approaching and goes all 80s action hero, and he's like, it ain't my time. He turns the key, but the car won't start.
I was like, good, because you deserve to die for that line.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
He then goes to unbuckle his belt, but it's jammed. He sees the black shadow of death in the rearview mirror, and he calls out to them, telling him he can't get out. Alex eventually rushes over, pulls him out of the car, ripping the seatbelt mere moments before the train collides with the car.
You can say mere moments, but like they were there. The train hit.
They were
Train
murdered
hit
that
them.
night.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't
I
know.
was like, stop it.
Yeah. But they all fall to the ground as the train goes by, kind of in awe of what just happened. Billy, however, stands up, losing his absolute mind about how Carter is next, so he's staying the fuck away from him. Carter's like, I'm not dead. Billy's
Yeah.
like, oh, you will be.
And at this moment, we're all like, it's not Carter.
It's not going to be Carter.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, metal debris gets kicked up from under the train, hits a chain, flies upward, and decapitates Billy. His body with the missing head looks pretty cool.
It looks
It
good.
does.
The head itself doesn't look good,
No,
but
it
the
does
rest
not.
of it does.
I read that they filmed that so many times because they wanted to roll the head to where it landed with the meaty part facing up, but they couldn't get it to work. So now they just have this dust-covered head.
No, it
They
was
just had
filthy.
to, yeah, it was really dirty. But Alex is piecing it all together while Carter calls him the devil. Basically, Death's design had Carter up next, but Alex had a vision, saved Carter, and the design moved on to Billy, who actually died. If Alex can intervene in Death's design, Death moves on to the next person. Alex gets into a weird bit about God's not dying, and Clear's like, baby, you're losing it. And I'm like, baby?
Yeah, that threw everybody.
I had no idea what happened then.
Yeah, I was like, when did they make things official?
Because
Yeah.
you cut out that scene, so
So
that
there
line
was
doesn't
no-
make
yeah.
sense anymore. Also, did you guys notice that Carter peed his pants?
No, I didn't.
No,
That's really funny.
He's got
didn't.
pee all down his legs.
I get it.
Yeah.
But anyway, they surmise that Alex is next, and then Clear, which Alex says he's not going to let it happen, as he's like holding her by the face.
We're in love now, guys.
Exactly, yeah. Carter tells him, he's like, why don't you just get the fuck out of here? Because the cops are coming.
Yeah.
So they get out of there. In the next scene, Alex has outfitted Clear's dad's cabin, basically pulling a Kurt Russell and death-proofing the motherfucker. He's living like it's 1900 with a lantern
Yeah.
and eating what I thought as a kid was cat food.
Dude, that's so funny. I did too.
But he's chewing it extra so he doesn't choke.
I think it's supposed to be like that canned
It's
chicken.
canned meat.
But it was really mushed up banana.
Really? Is he
Yeah.
a vegetarian or something?
I don't know. I probably wouldn't want to sit there taking
Eating
20
the-
takes of thoroughly chewing
No.
canned
Yeah.
meat
Or cat food.
or cat food for that matter. And he has on these gloves to
Yeah.
hold the can.
Yeah, just in case it slices him, I don't know. But a breeze blows in, setting up another Rube Goldberg of death, but Alex avoids it.
It's the death wind.
Yeah. But he then goes on to antagonize Death, which
Yeah,
not
he's
smart.
really, that's what I'm saying. I feel like this really went to his head pretty quick.
Oh, yeah. At Clear's house, she looks out the window to see the FBI agents parked in the alley. She looks at a picture of her and her father, which thankfully says me and dad on the back because we aren't smart enough to get context clues. But she goes outside and she tells the agents that she's not going to turn Alex in. Back at the cabin, Alex sees an article about Krista and Blake in the newspaper, the It Girls from the 2000s, which triggers his memory, and he realizes that he moved seats next to Todd, which means that in Death's design, he isn't next. Clear was seated behind him, which means she's next. His lantern blows out, which he tries to relight, but in it he sees a spark of electricity.
It looked funny because once he figured out Clear was supposed to be next, it looked like the fire winked at him.
It's like, now you're getting it. Back at Clear's house, a power line gets struck by lightning, sending an electrical wire to the ground. Alex leaves the cabin to save Clear, but is suddenly surrounded by the FBI. So I guess Clear gave his ass up?
I don't understand.
I don't get that either.
Another deleted scene. I don't know.
Sure. Let's chalk it up to that. But Alex escapes via kayak. At her house, Clear lights a candle but hears her dog barking outside. She sees he's dangerously close to the live wire, so she throws on a jacket to go outside and help him, which, he wasn't on the plane.
Your dog's going to be fine.
Yeah, trust me. But just then, the death breeze blows in, blowing out the candle she just lit. She goes outside and gets her dog away from the wire, but the wind whips a large metal thing at her. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what any of this is.
Yeah.
Shit just goes crazy.
It does. It hits the ground, almost stabs her in the face, doesn't, gets picked up from the ground and gets thrown into an above the ground swimming pool.
Yes. She's living the life by herself, man. She got a pool, a dog, sculptures.
Since age 10.
Since age 10.
But the FBI's on Alex's tail, chasing him through the woods, saying that they just want to help. He falls down a hill, nearly getting impaled by a tree. It's pretty neat looking.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Cool.
But we're then back at Clear's house, and she's sending the dog off, and she jumps onto that white ladder thing on the side of houses with all the plants. I don't know what that's called.
The trellis.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That has a name?
It's a trellis.
Jumps onto the trellis. And narrowly avoids being electrocuted on the trellis. Alex sees a vision of the wire exploding through the trees like it's fucking Vietnam or something, and he's then crushed by a giant falling tree. He's basically drowning in a puddle under the tree, but somehow survives.
He's like drowning.
Yeah, he's
like,
gurgling.
Like, what the fuck?
But
it's like a small puddle.
But the FBI agents realize that Alex is obviously headed to Clear's house, so they try to head him off at the pass.
But okay, so he is almost impaled by the thing or whatever.
Yes.
He almost drowns.
Yes.
He's like facing all these like near-death experiences in the woods, but Clear's next, and she's also experiencing near-death experiences at her house. So was Death like, fuck this pattern shit, I'm taking both these motherfuckers out? That didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
I
thought the same thing.
That didn't make any sense to me.
I think Death is sick of Alex's shit, and he's like, I know you're gonna try to stop me, so I'm gonna just
then
keep you busy.
Why is Death framing him for murder?
I don't know. It like puts his fingerprints on shit. Like, I don't know. But Clear climbs back into the house, but the wire hits the side of the house, causing every electrical appliance to explode just as Clear runs past them.
Yeah, like as she's running past them.
It looks interesting. It makes no sense.
It looks cool, but logistically, no.
But she makes her way downstairs through all the sparks into her garage and gets into her car. The wire is trying to pull a Jack Torrance on the door, just bashing at it and breaking it open, but she backs the car into the garage door, which causes the garage door opener to break, fall, and smash onto her windshield, and also knock over a can of turpentine. Alex arrives on the scene just as the wire hits the hood of Clear's car, killing the battery. Alex runs up to the car and tells Clear not to touch anything. He tries to bat the wire away with a metal shovel.
Makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But
and he was like, you're grounded by the tires, which is true. But let's whack this shit. I mean, you know.
No sense.
Okay.
But the wire actually snatches the shovel away and throws it into a tank filled with flammable gas, which flies under the car, and the wire also lights a trail of turpentine on fire. The wire's busy, all right? So Alex tells her the car is going to explode, which is funny because he came to help her and he's like, it's going to be okay. And he's like, the car's going to explode. But he tells her that he's going to grab the wire so she can make a break for it. If it works, Death will skip her and he'll save the day. She's reluctant, but he tells her he'll always be with her. The FBI shows up just as Alex grabs the wire. The car explodes, sending Alex flying into the garage. His body is fucking smoking.
Yeah.
And they all gather around him. In the next scene, it's 6 months later. A plane has arrived in Paris and we see Carter, Clear, and Alex getting off of it.
Would you guys ever get on a plane
No,
again?
never again. Well,
No.
that's what he says. He's like, I can't believe we got on a plane again.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever.
Which I don't know that you can, again, you can't excuse that stuff away with dialogue.
Can you guys believe
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
Also, what the hell happened to Alex? Like, he looks fine. Like,
Yeah.
nothing ever happened to him.
No burn marks.
He
no,
should have something,
nothing.
right? At least his hand should be burned.
Superpowers.
Something, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, right.
you know. But the three of them are enjoying some drinks outside of a French cafe, toasting to all their lost friends and classmates. Carter admits that Alex was right and that they did cheat death and they won. For some reason, Alex says something doesn't sit right with him because no one ever intervened to save his life, technically.
Question, though. Technically, didn't paramedics intervene? Do they not count?
He didn't think of that.
I mean, I'm just saying, doesn't that
No,
count?
because literally everybody ran up to him.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's on a very, like, limited definition of the word. He's like, someone needed to bat the wire away from me or something. I don't know.
But your life was saved.
It was, and he's here because of it. So
I'm just saying.
it should skip. But Carter doesn't give a shit because he considers himself safe because no matter what the situation is, honestly, Alex is, in fact, next. Clear isn't down for this conversation at all, and she says maybe everything happened as it should, and this is exactly how it was meant to be. Just then, a French street musician starts playing John Denver, and a bunch of Rube Goldberg shit starts to happen. Which we know death has also made the flight.
Yes.
Alex says he's going to go back to the hotel, and he asks them all to stay there. Clear sees a premonition of a bus in a window and screams out to Alex, who narrowly avoids being hit by it. So she's seeing shit now?
That's why I think they even added I felt it. I feel like that's
Right.
the whole reason was for this. And also he goes back to the hotel and she's like, I'll go with you. He's like, stay here. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, don't.
He's so weirdly intense about it.
He's going to go cheat on her. Is what it is.
He's like,
He already has
Sophie is
I was like, I already have a
weird.
girl up there.
It was just so
It
weird.
was. But the bus swerves out of the way of a car, which hits a food cart, which sends a pole into a large sign of lights, which swings towards Alex, who is tackled out of the way by Carter, saving his life to Alex's definition of being saved.
Of intervention.
Yes. The sign appears to read 180 as it swings by, like
Oh,
flight
shit.
180.
I didn't catch that.
Carter's like, I fucking told you were next. And Alex is like, but it just skipped me. And he's like, then who's next? And the sign swings back to hit Carter.
I laughed that Carter already forgot.
Yeah, he's like, I don't.
There's only 3 of them left.
Yeah. It's like Miss Luton, right?
Yeah.
But this ending was not the original ending. It actually was reshot, which cost $2 million.
Holy shit.
The original ending was, in fact, that Alex and Clear had sex on the beach. Clear got pregnant. Alex does die when he tries to save Clear. Clear gives birth to a baby, names it Alex. Her and Carter meet at the memorial at the high school, and they talk about how they defeated death and that they wish Alex was here. And then a leaf falls onto the screen and the film ends. It tested horribly.
The leaf was Alex.
Yeah.
I get the message they were trying to say, life being the baby. And
Right.
I mean, I guess I get it.
But
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm trying.
I think the theatrical ending, not the original ending, is better.
I agree.
But that also explains with the romance subplot being deleted because they weren't going to have the baby, but they forgot to get rid of her calling him baby all the goddamn time.
But like he still risked his life for her, so I feel like we still could. He did that thinking that he was gonna die to
Yes.
save her, so we could have
Right.
kept the romantic aspect.
Well, I mean, the romantic aspect is still there, I guess, because they are holding hands in Paris.
Yeah, but it's
But-
now
Yeah,
at the
but
end.
barely though.
But yeah, before they're just buddies, and then he's baby all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like during the movie, it
And they were barely buddies. She's like, I don't even believe you anymore.
Yeah. And even if they did it in the cemetery, then in the scene you said
the
taken
beach.
out,
Yeah.
what
I don't.
does that have to do? That doesn't mean we're together. We just
We're both scared.
yeah, it's like we're just
It was times were tense.
yeah.
A lot of people did things they,
Yeah.
But all that to say, that's the end of the movie. So, what did you guys think of Final Destination?
Obviously, there are issues.
Right.
I still like it. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't know if that's embarrassing to say or not, but I still like that movie. And one of the things that really makes me appreciate it even more is all the foreshadowing that if you look back, if I may, when Billy is looking out the window when the plane is leaving and they're still at the airport, the reflection of the plane goes directly over his face where his head is going to be cut off.
That's neat.
Once they're still in the airport after the plane explodes, when they show Terry, there's a picture of a bus behind her. When Todd is trying to get Alex to not trade seats with the girls, he's motioning, hanging, and choking
He is,
him.
yes.
And then when the teacher is examining her smoking computer, there's a stained glass image of a knife behind her. Like, there's a bunch of shit like that. I mean, obviously, the fire that attacks Alex. I mean, some of it's too on the nose, but like the sign that gets Carter saying 180.
Yes.
There's a bunch of shit like that in there, and I'm a sucker for stuff like that. Also, John Paul, I thought you would think it was interesting that Alex and Clear were almost played by Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst.
Oh God,
That's nuts.
And 2 years later, obviously, they would do Spider-Man. But what a different movie that
oh
was.
yeah, that one.
But I like it. I'm not even going to lie. I still like this movie. It was fun to watch it again because it has been probably at least a decade since I've seen it. I like it.
Yeah, it's been a really long time since I've seen this movie. I do, like I said, when I was younger, I remember watching it and being like, oh shit, this is crazy. But then now a lot of it, like it was just a lot of it was predictable. And I missed a lot of the things you were saying about like the foreshadowing and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not even going to lie to you. Yeah, it's cool, but I don't think
You're
that
like,
would have changed.
I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think that would have changed. It just... I don't know. It was just weird. Because I even was like, all right, this is gonna be fun. This is whatever, and I just watched it. Just watching it, like nothing really. I don't know. Nothing really like pulled me to be like, man, that's pretty good. It just didn't do it for me. I don't know what it was, but it didn't hit me the same way.
Right.
It hit me in a different way, I think, being older, because after I watched it, I was like, man, that's fucking everywhere, man. Like, I was like, this is like...
Hey, but no, that's how it hit me when I was a kid. I was like, okay, what elaborate fucking...
It's
death
just waiting.
things.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I still liked it, like you, but as you had said, I mean, there's a lot of things that you don't really notice as a kid that just kind of don't make sense or don't really line up, and it feels as if maybe there were some changes, as we know about the romantic subplot, but a lot of different things that kind of just didn't add up. But at the same time, it's got to be commended for the impact it made on the genre, because early 2000s, like this, I feel like a lot of people have this era of horror films as a special place in their heart. Maybe it's people our age who grew up with them.
I think, yeah.
But this film, I have all those nostalgic feelings for this film, which kind of allows me to forgive it for some of those things.
Right.
Yeah.
But not overlook those things. Have to commend them for the premise. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
The idea of death as the antagonist and not a guy in a cloak with a skull mask or something just fucking waving from a thing.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been really bad, but they did it in a very kind of mature and smart way.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I guess brings us into ratings. I will admit, as I just said, about nostalgia playing a factor, but at the same time, I mean, there is still a lot of good to take from this movie. I still like this movie. It's a good film to watch. It's like a fun Friday night film to not really dive too far into, but just enjoy.
Yeah.
Not every film needs 500 theories and, 45-minute videos you have to watch on YouTube after you watch it,
I'm looking at you. I'm thinking of ending things.
Yeah, don't even
Sorry,
get me started.
I still feel some type of way.
No, I feel the exact same way. But I loved this film as a kid. I liked it this time around.
Right.
So, not to repeat everything that I've already said, at the end of the day, it's a good movie, and I recommend you watch it for its place in the genre, and maybe we'll get to the sequel someday, I don't know.
We'll see.
But watch this one. So, out of 10 elaborate Rube Goldberg deaths, I'm going to have to give Final Destination 6 out of 10 elaborate Rube Goldberg deaths. And I will now open the floor to you.
I understand what you're saying, and I do agree with you, because I do like the overall of it, like you said, death and them not using like a ghoul or a creature or whatever. And I don't know, man. Like I said, it didn't grab me like it did when I was younger.
Right.
And I didn't remember a lot of this movie. Like a lot of it I didn't remember. And it was just kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like I did sit there and watch it and I was like, huh. But I did find myself I want to say probably about halfway getting kind of bored and just kind of like, I think it was more because of like it being certain things being predictable. You know what I mean? Or
some of it is.
And it was just like, come on, you know. I think the major problem too was like when dude was in the bathroom and I'm gonna shave. Wait, I need to turn on my radio. Wait, I need to clip my nose hairs. Wait, I need, you know.
Right.
It's like, dude, you didn't. I get the misdirection, like you said. You didn't have to do that. It was just a lot.
Right.
And it was like, come on, man. And it just didn't. I don't know if it didn't hit my ear right or if it didn't, but I didn't, you know what I mean? Like but I will agree with you. If you're gonna watch, you got a group of friends and you just want to put something on so people can watch it, or you got a group of people so you can sit down and you don't really have to think, you just watch it.
Yeah.
And everybody's laughing or having a couple of drinks, like, oh shit, you know, his head got cut off or what, you know.
Yeah.
I would definitely, and I would recommend people to watch the movie. I would. It is something that should be watched. Now, I've only seen 2, so I don't know about the rest of the sequels, but I do remember a little bit of 2. The second one, I do remember some of that one. So I don't want to be too harsh because like I said, I did like the movie when I was a kid, and like it wasn't all bad. You're right, it wasn't. I just didn't, like I said, I think it was just a lot of it, me being able to predict what was going on. I was like, I have to give this movie 4 elaborate Rube Goldberg deaths out of 10. It wasn't, you know, I don't want to say it was like right in the middle of the road for me, but it was not right there. It just wasn't quite there for me.
It's honestly higher than I expected you to
Yeah,
go.
Me
well,
too, honestly.
Well, I did start a little lower, and then I remember, you know, as I watched it, I was like, you know what? I was like, it's not all that bad. It does have some problems, but it's not as bad as, you know I complained a lot, but it just, like I said, it just wasn't what I remembered, you know, and it just didn't kind of, you know, I was just kind of like, is this almost over? It's like, not really, but, you know, it was.
I initially agreed with you, but the more I dug in, and I am a sucker for foreshadowing.
Right.
So that bumps it up a little bit for me, because that's rewatchability. The second time you watch that, it's like, oh shit.
Yes.
And overall, I do like this movie. Like I said, maybe not as much as I did when I was a kid, but I appreciate it and its place in the genre, and honestly how creative it was in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The deaths being one of them for me, honestly, and another one, the premise itself. So with all that being said, on a scale from 1 to 10 elaborate Rube Goldberg deaths, I'm going to give Final Destination 6.5 out of 10. I mean, I love this movie.
Yeah. It was, like I said, it wasn't bad. It just, you know, wasn't one of my favorites.
I didn't notice how much that there was a place for it in my heart still until I watched it again, honestly.
And it did take watching it again. That's honestly something I would very much recommend to everybody.
Yeah, because I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen this in a long time.
And it's any movie, but specifically this one right now, if you have a movie you loved as a kid, pop it on again.
Yeah, see how it makes you feel.
Well, that's all from us at Pod Mortem. What would you rate Final Destination, and what should we watch next? Let us know on Twitter at the Pod Mortem. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook. Be sure to follow each of us on Twitter at TravisMWH, at Blood and Smoke, and at RealStreeter84. Remember, always live life to the fullest. You never know when it might all come crashing down. Until next time.